Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms video. I am Pethris. Today I'm going to be going over the best civilization choices for both mains and farms. This will cover both rally garrison leads, open field, specializations for free to play. It'll cover farms, whether you want to specialize your farms. I'll talk a little bit about that, and let's get right into it. Okay, so here I am on my restart, and I just want to start off with new characters. Like I said, new characters, not necessarily counts, right? So if you create a farm too, you're going to want to start with China. So what this does for you is the obvious. We all kind of know this by this point. You get building speed reduction, that saves you hundreds of days, and you really want to keep this. And obviously, AP is good too, but you want to keep this until just after you start City Hall 25, and that then allows you to decrease the biggest thing. And I believe personally that is when you want to switch your civilization to whatever it may be. Mains. I'll talk about that in a moment, and farms are the other option, which I will talk about at the end. So, mains, right? I believe mains should be in Germany for the off season. You're getting more training speed, which is giving you just more troops passively, not to mention if you push, as well as 10% AP point reduction, or sorry, recovery, which is the most possible in the civilization bonuses. So this is by far, in my opinion, the best civilization for off-season recovery. And then once you transition into fighting, it gets a little complicated. So to begin with, the general rule of thumb is if you're anything outside of a medium to high spender slash whale, you go France. Period. End of story. So why, right? Why is it so clear? Because one, you get troop health to all types. That's kind of whatever, honestly, even though it is sounds kind of nice. But this is the important part. Healing speeds 20%. This, hospital healing speed by 20%. All that means is you have 20% more speed ups after KvK. You use 20% less. It's amazing. And when you go through a real fighting KvK, you're using hundreds of days, hundreds, if not thousands, if you're in, higher end KvKs. So most players benefit from this. Even my main currently, I believe, is nearing 1,000 days of speed ups in terms of fighting wise. And if I lost or if I get to keep 200 days from 20%, that would be pretty impactful. So I'm currently Germany on my main because it's off season. I'll be switching to France this coming KvK. And this can make the difference between fighting really hard in zone 5 and then calling it a KvK because you're out of speed ups, or fighting really hard in zone 5, really hard in zone 6, fighting in every altar and fighting in Kingsland. It can make a huge difference on how you can impact your kingdom, how you could contribute, how you could meet those DKP requirements and more. Um, and you really want to be there in the pivotal moments. It's how you really, you know, have fun is by making that big stand and winning. So that's why France is the best choice for most players because most players are open fielding. Now, if you're not open fielding, you're either rally or garrison. Let's talk about it in specific. So let's start off by talking about archers, which are relatively clear cut, where you choose the Ottoman Empire for both the 5% increased health as well as the 5% skill damage. As you'll probably notice throughout this game, archers are the only troop type currently that is pure skill damage. Infantry got smite, cavalry got combo. Archers, yes, they got true damage and mighty heal. That didn't work. They're not continuing that as we know right now. They went skill damage. So that's why Ottomans are the best. Troop march speed is also cherry on top for sure. And then next, I'd like to talk about cavalry. I believe Arabia to be the best for this, mainly for rallying. It gets a little dicey in terms of garrison, but Cav garrison isn't really a meta thing, anyways. And Eleanor is not a top garrison, even in passes, yes. So, but regardless, for rallies, you get 5% cav attack. you get 5% damage dealt by rallied armies. Very helpful. You know, Attila Subutai is the meta rally right now still. This is the way to go for cavalry. And then as far as infantry goes, you would go with Greece because you get 5% health. Again, that's kind of whatever. But for those rallies, you get 5% rallied army damage. So there are some specific plays you could talk about. Like if there's a really, really weird world where we get an amazing cavalry garrison in that next cycle coming up, maybe you go Byzantium because you get the cavalry health. Hospital cap is also nice because you get delay your healing, you do it in bigger batches, whatever. But I think that's a pretty minor benefit, especially because Garrison isn't common for them compared to this, where you're able to, you need this to rally. You do. This is a huge benefit. So now to talk about farms. It's actually surprisingly complicated because it totally depends on your play style. If you are making a general farm, you send your marches out, you farm whatever you have near you. Maybe it's just the highest level nodes of any type. You're going to do Japan. It's very simple. 5% resource gathering, period. It's great. Why would you not do it? That makes the most sense. That's what I personally do. That's what I believe in. This also comes, mind you, after doing China to push to City Hall 24, not 25, but 24, because you don't want to affect your matchmaking. And you could lower your tax, is what you're doing. You're lowering your tax from like 30% to 10% at level 24. So once you get to that, you use your free civilization change to go to Japan. Or if you are someone who chooses to do a specialized farm, for instance, you'll see a lot of people do, 5 farms that are gold farms. You'll do 5 farms that are food farms, et cetera, et cetera. You can choose some of these more specific civilizations. So, if you're making a gold farm, maybe choose the Mayas. I thought it was Mayans. Maybe you choose them because they give 10% gathering speed, an extra 5%, right? And it's the same sort of thing for all of this. So you could go, you know, Greece for stone. You could go Byzantium for stone right here. Uh, Rome has food. You get the gist. Essentially, it lets you specialize in a specific type for faster speed, but you also have the trade-off of you have to hope that you have better nodes near you, and the more farms you have, the less likely that is. The more people that are near you, the less likely, right? So that's kind of that. I personally really do recommend Japan after doing China to level it up. I think it's just much easier to have a generalized plan because that's more common, especially, you know, if you are in a busy big kingdom, which, most of us are, or you're not using enough resources. So it's not that big of a deal either way. But yeah, so if there's anything you'd like me to touch upon that I didn't in this video, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe for more daily videos and shorts. And thank you for watching.